All right, Shalom. It's the brother Quashab coming back at you with another lesson. Now, before I get started, I want to give all praises, glory, infinite honors unto Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, Bahashem Rekakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who taught me his true rule well, and peace, blessings, and salutations to the hopefully elect, all right, as well as those that believe in the gospel, and may you endure to the end, Lord willing, all right. And the title of this lesson is going to be "The End Is Not Yet," all right, because, it's exciting times, all right, as we can see the build-up for World War III, all right, civil unrest, all right, but the end is not yet, because as Yahweh Shai spoke about these things, it was imperative that he made a statement, all of these are the beginning of sorrows, okay, which we're going to get in a minute, but, we can see the build-up to what's getting ready to happen, all right, and we know that through prophecy, all things will be fulfilled. All right. But we know ultimately, as the apostles always say, apostles on down, that the MOTB has to be fully implemented before these things can ultimately come to pass. All right. Now, it's an order to prophecy. All right. Now, whether you can receive it or not, all right, that's totally up to you. All right. And Yahweh Bashim Al Shai. All right. But there's an order to how things will play out, all right? And, we know ultimately that World War III, all right, is the last Trump, all right? I'm talking about a full-fledged, all-out nuclear war, okay? We know that that's the last Trump, all right? But, all of these proxy wars and different wars that, like the Russia-Ukraine, all right, Israel, Gaza, all right, America, Iran, all of these small proxy wars are definitely going to be wars that lead to the valley of Yahweh Shaphat, all right, when Yahweh Shah makes his return, and he's actually going to judge the heathen, you see, and when they're going to join together to fight against the angels and the Lord, but kind of lost my train of thought. Goddamn, my eyes is itching. Forgive me, Salakia. All right, Salakia about that. Damn allergies, man. But let's get it's the book of Matthew, all right, chapter 24, verse 6. It says, "And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled. For all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet." All right. It says, you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. So we're hearing of wars and rumors of wars now, which is how we know we're a step closer to the end, right? But not yet. Why? Because the charagma, the MOTB, has to ultimately be made mandatory. All right. It has to be, as it says, come upon the hour of temptation has to come upon all the world. All right. Let's get that. Excuse me. Right. It's Revelation 3:10. It says, "Because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I will also keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world." Excuse me. To try them that dwell upon the earth. So everyone that's living on the planet Earth ultimately has to be tried with what? This charagma. All right. It says it shall come upon all the world. All right. And let's see what this word world is in Revelation 3. We'll come back to the Matthew. Right. right, which is oikoumene, which is, I believe that's what it was. It says the inhabited earth, all right, the portion of the earth inhabited by the Greeks, all right. It says, you jump down to the point, it says the universe, the world, the inhabitants of earth, men, all right, which is speaking about the whole earth, all right. When you go into John 3:16, all right, I believe the word world, damn, it escapes me. It's not Aeon, it's the other one. Damn. It escapes me right now. Come on, man. These bodies, man. Let me try to get it real quick. I'm too fast. Cosmos, So cosmos, which means an orderly arrangement, right? But this word world in Revelation 3 is oikoumene, all right, which means the whole entire planet Earth, all right, or the whole inhabited Earth, all right, the universe, all right. But the Lord said, because, you know, we have kept the word of his patience, all right, he's going to keep us from the hour of temptation. So we have to go through that, you see, before this place ultimately be destroyed. You know, the Lord has to fulfill this prophecy, man. You see, and all these prophecies have to be fulfilled, all right. Not one jot or tittle to all be fulfilled, you see. But, you know, that's the point of this lesson, is to try to make good points, all right, or bring it to light that how, you know, these things have to come before we be saved out of here, man. All right. But that was the point. All right, let's go back to the Matthew 24. All right. Now it says, verse 7, for nation shall rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. All right, which we're seeing now. All right. That's how we know we're close. And there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. So all of these things are taking place, right? All of these things are actually taking place now, you see? But it says what? All these are the beginning of sorrows, right? When you read it in NLT, it says, but all this is only the first of the birth pains, with more to come, you see? In which it goes into persecution, all right? Those turning on each other, false prophets, all right? The love of many waxing cold, all right? The gospel being preached and to all the nations, you see? These are things that are taking place now, but all of these are the first of the birth pains, right? So let's get this word sorrows. Is a Strong's G
5604. Odin.
Right, Odin. All right, and it says a pain of childbirth, travail pain, birth pains, intolerable anguish. You see? In reference to the dire calamities preceding the advent of the Messiah. All right? So it's getting ready to be a dire calamities, man. All right? Dire calamities. You see, things are going to have to get much, much, much worse, as it says in Daniel 12:1, a time like never before. All right, and we can only paint the picture in our minds of how it will be, you know, but we ultimately understand that it's going to be much worse than that, right? So let's go to Second Esdras, all right, 14 and verse 16, right? So it says, for yet greater evils than those which thou hast seen happen shall be done hereafter. All right. And, you know, it's going to be greater evils, man. All right. We know that the evils are going to be ultimately multiplied throughout the planet Earth. The famine, okay, the sword, right? Different calamities, all right, pestilences. You see, these things are going to be multiplied throughout the planet Earth. All right, and we can already see the footprint or the game plan on how they want to navigate these things and how they can ultimately bring about their, how they can ultimately bring about their MOTB system, all right, their NWO, you see? Through what? Pestilences, plagues, tracking, all right? Monitoring your intake, your carbon footprint, right? All of these things are a part of the system, but what do they ultimately want to do? Put something in you, man, all right, so where they don't have to track you. You see? It's already in you, all right? So greater evils is coming, you see? But the end is not yet, right? We haven't even got to the worst of the worst, man, right? So we can see the World War III build up, all right? We can see the civil unrest build up, but just wait. Much more worse times are coming, you see? When things start to get really bad and the Lord has to start lifting up the standard, all right, when he has to start performing miracles on the right-hand side, and you can only imagine how much closer we'll be then, you see? Which is why brothers always push that you got to pace yourself in this race, man, so you don't tire out, right? Because in the same Matthew 24, let's go back at the end, it says, after he said about all of these things, happening, but in verse 13 it says, but he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. All right. So he that endured to the end is going to be the one to be saved. All right. You have to be able to get through the said perils. All right. In which those who are going to get through those said perils are the ones that the Lord has ultimately ordained from the beginning, preordained. You see? But since I said that, let's go to 2 Esdras 9. All right. This 2 Esdras 9 and 7. I start at 6, right? I start at 5. Right? It says, for like as all that's made in the world had a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest. Even so the times also of the highest have plain beginnings and wonders, and powerful works and endings, and effects and signs. And every one that shall be saved and shall be able to escape by his works and by faith whereby ye have believed shall be preserved from the said perils, you see, and shall see my salvation in my land and within my borders, for I have sanctified them for me from the beginning. All right. And I just wanted to bring that out to back up that point, that, the elect ultimately was sanctified from the beginning. Okay. But I don't want to veer off the point of the lesson. The Spirit just kind of got on me to go into that, right? But one of the key facts about the scriptures is that the Lord emphasizes that, he is going to be the one to judge those who ultimately receive the MOTB, right? So the Lord is not coming back twice, once to judge those that receive the MOTB, all right, and then judge the heathen, all right, in the battle of the valley of Jehoshaphat, all right, which is Yahweh Shaphat in the Hebrew, all right, the valley of Yahweh's judgment, you see, which is its true meaning. It says Revelation 14 and 9, and the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of the Most High, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation. And he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. You see? So if you take the MOTB, all right, there's a judgment that's written for you when Yahushua makes his return. You see? At that same point in time, when he makes his return to take the crowns, all right, and destroy the heathen that are in rulership, all right, and ultimately bind the kings with chains, All right, as it says in Psalms 149, 149, all right, 149th chapter, you know, it's going to be a judgment for those that received the MOTB, and the heathen are going to be judged, all right, in World War III, in the midst of World War III, all right? But that it goes into it in Second Esdras, the 13th chapter, right? There's Second Esdras 13, and in 3 it says, and I beheld, and lo, that man strong with the thousands of heavens, all right, talking about the chariots, the man being Yahushua, and when he turned his countenance to look, all the things trembled that were seen under him, right? So you have nations that rise against other nations, kingdom against other kingdoms that's ultimately at war right now, right? When Yahushua makes his return, it says, and whensoever the voice went out of his mouth, all they burned that heard his voice, like as the earth faileth when it feeleth fire. And after this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude of the men out of the number from the four winds of the heaven to subdue the man that came out of the sea. It's a point. But I beheld, and lo, he had graved himself a great mountain and flew upon it, right? That massive fathership, all right, that Yahushua is going to be standing on when he makes his return, all right? It says, but I would have seen a region, a place whereout the hill was graven, and I could not. And after this I beheld, and lo, all they which were gathered together to subdue him were so afraid, and yet durst fight. All right, and all of those nations that were gathered together to see the return of Yahushua turned toward him and just to fight. Right, they were afraid, but the Lord gonna make you fight against him, man. You see. And I will bet a lot of these guys that's in the militaries, all right, that's actually fighting would have the MOTB. You know, I would bet so. All right, seeing the way that the world is going, the technology, all right, the technocracy that, the elites want to create, man. You know. So let's go to Joel 3, all right, because for these nations, we know that World War III chiefly is going to take place. All right, the actual physical action is going to take place over there, all right, in Saudi Arabia. All right, let's get Joel 2 and 20 first. It says, but I will remove far off from you the northern army, all right, which represents America, all right, and will drive him into a land barren and desolate. Okay, what's a land barren and desolate? When you think about it, all right, no crops and different things like that. It's talking about, those deserts over there in the Middle East, all right, chiefly talking about Saudi Arabia, all right, with his face towards the east sea and his hinder part toward the utmost sea, and his stank shall come up and his ill savor shall come up, because he had done great things, which I believe one is the Persian Gulf, all right, I forget which one, haven't been to it in a while, but one's the Persian Gulf, and I believe the others is the Red Sea, right? And in between those two is Saudi Arabia. Now, don't quote me on that. I haven't been to it in a while, but I do believe that that's what those two seas are, right? But it would World War III will take place over there in Saudi Arabia, all right? But back in Joel 3 and 2, it says, I will also gather all the nations and will bring them down to the valley of Jehoshaphat, and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. All right. Now let's jump to 12. It says, let the heathen be awakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat, for there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. Right. And so that's what a place of judgment, okay, is going to be for a majority of these nations. All right. A lot of these alliances that the U.S. has, the Russia, the BRICS, all right? Hey, man, the Lord is coming back to judge all of you, man, all right? But this won't take place until the MOTB has fully been implemented, right? But I believe that was all I had. You know, that's pretty much it. But yeah, man. So, Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. That it makes sense to you. All right, just tying some prophecies together and to show you that how when Yahushua makes his return, that those who take the MOTB and those that are in the midst of World War III are all going to be judged by Yahushua, all right, before the nukes, you see? And the nukes gonna be getting shot off, all right? It's going to be crazy, all right? But, hey, we know the elect, those who the Lord have preserved, are going to be the ones to make it out, It's going to be a close call, and we'll end it with that. 2nd Esdras 9, and let's see how the righteous scarcely make it. I think it's 2nd Peter. Right, so 1 Peter 4:18, it says, and if the righteous scarcely be saved, what shall the ungodly and the sinner appear? All right, and hey man, we know we're gonna make it out of here by the skin of our teeth, and Lord will that he allows us to endure to the end, all right, because it's already written for us. We just got to go through it, Akim. All right, so that's pretty much the point, man. I ain't gonna keep beating it home. Like I say, Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. It made sense to you, So with that, I'm going to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, Ba'ashem Kakwadash, Davan to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace, blessings.